Hey, hey, hey! Welcome back to Learn English Naturally. I'm Emma.
Hey everyone, Ethan here, and today's topic is a big one, honestly.
Oh, how big are we talking?
Change your life forever, that big.
No pressure then, just a small, casual topic.
Extremely casual, just the entire direction of your life.
Okay, but seriously, I actually love this topic.
Why's that?
Because everyone has that one moment, that one decision that changed everything.
Completely true. And today we're talking about exactly that, in English.
Not just talking about change, but learning the language of change itself.
Exactly. The vocabulary, the phrases, the structure to describe transformation clearly.
Why does that specific language matter so much?
Because talking about change is genuinely difficult even in your first language.
So true. It's abstract, emotional, and hard to organize clearly.
Exactly, which makes it even harder in a second language.
That's exactly why today's episode exists, honestly.
We're giving you real tools to talk about goals, growth, and turning points.
Whether it's a job interview, a personal essay, or just a deep conversation with a friend.
What changed your life will never leave you speechless again.
We'll also do live practice and our vocabulary breakdown, as always.
But first, your turn in the comments right now.
Complete this sentence. One thing that truly changed my life was...
Be honest, be specific. We genuinely read every single comment.
Honestly, for me, it was moving to a new city alone, years ago.
That's such a big one, genuinely life-shaping.
It really was. Terrifying at first, but completely worth it.
What about you listening right now? What's yours?
Write it down, even briefly. We'd genuinely love to hear it.
Every story matters, no matter how small it might feel.
Ethan, quick question before we start. Is this topic just about big, dramatic changes?
Not at all. Small changes count just as much. Honestly, sometimes more.
Really? Even something tiny?
Absolutely. We'll actually talk about that idea in detail today.
I love that this isn't just about huge, dramatic life events.
Exactly. Real change often starts incredibly small and quietly.
Okay, I'm fully convinced. Let's get into it.
Let's do it.
Okay, Ethan, let's start with something honest. Why do people want change so badly?
Usually because something feels stuck, repetitive, or unsatisfying deep down.
That restless feeling, like something needs to shift.
Exactly. And that feeling is actually really common, almost universal.
So if everyone wants change, why don't more people actually make it happen?
Because wanting change and actually changing are two completely different things.
That gap feels so real, honestly.
It's called resistance, and it shows up every single time without exception.
What does resistance actually look like in real life?
Procrastination, excuses, suddenly finding everything else more urgent.
Suddenly the whole house needs cleaning right before starting something hard.
Exactly that. Resistance is remarkably creative, honestly.
Why does our brain resist change so strongly in the first place?
Because familiarity feels safe, even when it's genuinely unsatisfying.
So the brain prefers a known discomfort over an unknown possibility.
Exactly. That's honestly one of the strangest parts of human psychology.
So how do people actually push through that resistance?
Usually not with one giant leap, but with one small, repeated step.
Interesting. So the secret isn't dramatic, it's consistent.
Exactly. And that idea completely reshapes how we should talk about change.
What's the biggest myth people believe about life-changing moments?
The change happens instantly in one dramatic scene, like in a movie.
The dramatic music, the single powerful realization, all in one moment.
Exactly. Real life rarely works that way, honestly.
So real change is usually messier and much slower.
Almost always. Even dramatic-sounding stories usually hide months of small effort.
That actually makes change feel more achievable, weirdly.
Exactly, because it removes the pressure of needing something huge to happen first.
So what actually triggers change if not one dramatic event?
Usually discomfort finally outweighing fear, even just slightly.
So it tips a small internal balance rather than exploding all at once.
Precisely, and that tipping point looks different for every single person.
Does language actually play a role in that tipping point at all?
Surprisingly, yes. How you describe your situation shapes how stuck you feel.
Say more about that.
I'm stuck forever feels permanent, whereas I'm stuck right now feels temporary.
Wow, such a small language shift, but such a big emotional difference.
Exactly, which is exactly why today's vocabulary matters so much.
Okay, I'm ready. Let's build the full toolkit now.
Let's do it, piece by piece.
All right, Ethan, let's start building our change vocabulary.
First, a turning point.
What exactly counts as a turning point?
A specific moment where everything after it feels different in direction.
Meeting my mentor was a real turning point in my career.
Perfect example. Clear, personal, and specific.
Give me another useful phrase.
To hit rock bottom, meaning the lowest possible point before things improve.
I finally changed after hitting rock bottom financially.
Exactly right. A very common phrase in life change stories.
What about smaller, gradual change, not one dramatic moment?
Little by little, or gradually, both describe that slow build perfectly.
Little by little, I built a completely new morning routine.
Perfect. That phrase deserves much more attention than it gets.
What phrase describes finally deciding to act after hesitating?
To take the leap. A phrase for finally committing to something.
She finally took the leap and started her own business.
Perfect. And it captures the decision to act despite uncertainty.
What about describing letting go of an old habit or identity?
To leave something behind or to break free from something.
He broke free of years of self-doubt.
Powerful phrase, very common in personal growth conversations.
Give me a phrase for the actual process of growing or improving.
Personal growth, or simply to grow as a person.
This experience really helped me grow as a person.
Exactly, an extremely common phrase worth using confidently.
What about describing an old version of yourself before the change?
My old self, or the person I used to be.
My old self would have never done something this brave.
A useful phrase when describing personal change.
And the opposite, describing your improved current self.
The person I've become, or who I am today.
I'm proud of the person I've become over these past years.
A powerful closing phrase for a transformation story.
What about setbacks, phrases for when change doesn't go smoothly?
To fall back into old habits, or simply a setback.
I had a small setback, but I got right back on track.
Exactly, and we'll dig deeper into setbacks later in the episode.
I feel ready to tell my own transformation story now.
Let's actually do it, live, right now.
Before we tell full stories, how do we actually organize them clearly?
Great question, and there's a simple structure. Before, trigger, after.
Break that down for us.
Before describes your situation prior to change.
Before, I felt stuck in a job I didn't really enjoy.
Perfect. Next, trigger, the moment or decision that sparked the shift.
Then, a close friend encouraged me to finally apply somewhere new.
Exactly right. And finally, after, where you are now because of it.
Now, I love what I do every single day.
Before, trigger, after. 3 simple parts, powerful together.
Does this structure work for smaller changes too, not just huge ones?
Absolutely. The size of the story shrinks, but the structure stays identical.
Before, I never exercised. Then I started with just 10 minutes daily. Now it's part of my life.
Perfect. Small story, same structure.
Can we add descriptive words into this structure too?
Definitely. Descriptive words make the story feel specific, not just factual.
Give me some useful words for the before section.
Stuck, unfulfilled, restless, discouraged, all work well there.
And for the after section?
Fulfilled, confident, at peace, proud, energized.
That creates a clear contrast.
Exactly, and contrast makes a story memorable.
What about the trigger section? Any useful words there?
Determined, hopeful, Nervous but ready. Those work well there.
I felt nervous but ready when I finally sent that application.
Good sentence, clearly describing the situation.
Let's build one full example together using everything so far.
Let's do it. I'll start. Before, I felt completely unmotivated about learning new skills. Then, a close friend challenged me to try something completely new. I felt nervous but ready, so I finally said yes. Now, I feel energized every time I try something unfamiliar.
Ethan, that was clear and well-structured.
Thank you. Now it's your turn, using the exact same shape.
Before, I felt restless in my daily routine, bored most days. Then, I decided to start this podcast out of curiosity. I felt hopeful but also nervous on our very first episode. Now, I feel proud and connected doing this.
Emma, I didn't know that was how you felt at the start.
It was, and structure made it easier to share. Let's do a few more rounds, different kinds of change this time.
Let's do it. I'll pick a category. Health and habits. Before, I barely drank water and I always felt sluggish. Then I read something that scared me into changing. I started small, just 1 extra glass daily. Now I feel noticeably more energetic, just from that one small shift.
Such a small change, but well told and completely believable.
Exactly. Small stories carry just as much power as huge ones.
My turn. Let's try the category relationships. Before, I avoided difficult conversations completely out of fear. Then a relationship nearly ended because of that exact avoidance. I finally spoke honestly. Now I feel much closer to the people I truly care about.
That one was very relatable.
Thank you. It was difficult, but good to say out loud.
Let's try one more. Category career or education this time. Before, I doubted whether I was even good at teaching English. Then one listener message completely changed my perspective. I became far more confident. Now I feel like this is exactly what I'm meant to be doing.
Ethan, that message clearly meant a lot to you.
It really did. Small moments like that quietly change everything.
My turn. Category personal confidence. Before, I never spoke up in group conversations, even with good ideas. Then one mentor specifically asked for my opinion, publicly. I answered anyway, shaking slightly. Now speaking up feels natural, even on a podcast, to thousands of people.
Full circle, from silence to hosting an entire episode about change.
Genuinely full circle. I didn't even plan that connection.
Sometimes the best examples are the ones we're already living.
Should we try one final category, something lighter this time?
Sure. Category a small daily habit. Before, I checked my phone the instant I woke up, every single day. Then I read that this habit was quietly increasing my stress. I decided to try changing. Now I wait a full hour and mornings feel calmer.
Such a relatable, small, believable transformation story.
Exactly, and that's the whole point. Change doesn't need to be huge.
I think that's the biggest lesson from this whole section.
Completely. Small stories told clearly are just as powerful as big ones.
Ethan, what happens when change doesn't stick, when someone slips back?
It happens constantly, to almost everyone at some point.
Good. I need to hear that clearly stated.
Setbacks aren't proof that change failed. They're simply part of the process.
How do we actually talk about a setback without sounding defeated?
Use the phrase, I fell back into old habits, but I caught myself.
I fell back into old habits for a week, but I caught myself quickly.
Perfect. That sentence shows honesty and resilience together.
What's the word for getting back on track after a setback?
To bounce back, or to get back on track.
It took a week, but I finally bounced back.
Exactly right. A natural phrase.
What about describing the ability to keep going, long-term?
Resilience or perseverance both describe that long-term strength.
Her resilience really impressed everyone during that difficult year.
Perfect. Powerful words used constantly in transformation stories.
What's a good phrase for reminding yourself why you started something?
To reconnect with your why, a phrase we've actually used before.
Right, from our motivation episode weeks ago.
Exactly. These episodes really do connect if you've been listening along.
What if someone genuinely wants to give up completely?
Then the phrase, give yourself grace, becomes important.
I'm giving myself grace today. Tomorrow, I'll try again.
Kindness matters just as much as discipline.
Let's practice describing a full setback story together.
Let's do it. I'll start. I built a strong reading habit for months and maintained it consistently. Then a busy season completely disrupted that routine. I thought I'd lost real progress. But eventually I bounced back and the habit feels even stronger now.
I like that the setback made the ending feel even more earned.
Exactly. Setbacks actually make transformation stories more believable, not less.
My turn. Let me try a setback story too. I started exercising regularly and maintained the consistency. Then an injury forced a complete pause for almost a month. I worried I'd lost all that progress, but I gave myself grace, and slowly I got back on track.
Genuinely honest and encouraging all at once.
I think stories with setbacks actually connect with people more.
Completely true. Perfection isn't relatable. Honest struggle is.
All right, everyone, let's break down several useful words and phrases from today's components.
First, a turning point.
A turning point is a specific moment where everything after feels different.
You could say, graduating college was a real turning point for me.
Let's repeat it. A turning point.
A turning point.
Second, to take the leap.
To take the leap means to finally commit to something big and uncertain.
You could say, he finally took the leap and moved abroad.
Let's repeat it. To take the leap.
To take the leap.
Third, to bounce back.
To bounce back means to recover quickly after a setback or difficulty.
You could say, she bounced back quickly after a tough month.
Let's repeat it. To bounce back.
To bounce back.
Fourth, resilience.
Resilience means the ability to keep going through difficulty over time.
You could say his resilience helped him through a really hard year.
Let's repeat it. Resilience.
Resilience.
Fifth, to hit rock bottom.
To hit rock bottom means reaching the lowest possible point before improving.
You could say, she hit rock bottom before finally asking for help.
Let's repeat it. To hit rock bottom.
To hit rock bottom.
Sixth, little by little.
Little by little describes slow, steady, gradual progress over time.
You could say, little by little, he rebuilt his confidence completely.
Let's repeat it. Little by little.
Little by little.
Seventh, to give yourself grace.
To give yourself grace means to be kind to yourself, especially after a mistake.
You could say, give yourself grace. Tomorrow is a brand new chance.
Let's repeat it. To give yourself grace.
To give yourself grace.
And eighth, the person I've become.
A phrase used to describe your current, transformed self.
You could say, I'm proud of the person I've become.
8 useful phrases straight from today's stories, ready for you to use.
Ethan, today's episode felt different, more personal somehow.
It really did. Stories tend to do that.
I loved hearing your stories today.
Same. Yours had a strong impact on me.
All right, here's your challenge for this week, everyone listening. Write your own transformation story using before, trigger, after.
It can be huge or tiny. Both count equally.
Add one descriptive word in each section to make it specific.
Then say it out loud, even alone, even to an empty room.
And if you're comfortable, share it in the comments. We'd love to read it.
If today helped, share it with someone going through their own change right now.
They should know that setbacks are normal and progress is still happening.
Subscribe, comment, and we'll see you on the next episode.
And here's what we want you to carry today.
Range change rarely looks like the movies. One dramatic scene and suddenly everything's different. Real change is usually quiet, small, repeated, and a little messy.
So if your story feels small, tell it anyway. It still counts.
Before, trigger, after. Your story deserves that structure and deserves to be told.
Ethan, one last thought before we close. Anything you want to add?
Just this. You don't need permission to start changing today.
That's a strong way to end this episode.
It felt important to say clearly, not just imply.
I completely agree. Today really was about permission in a way.
Permission to start small, permission to stumble, permission to keep going anyway.
I think that message will stay with people longer than the vocabulary even.
Hopefully both stay, the language and the message together.
Thank you all so much for spending this time with us today.
Every listener, every comment, every shared story, it truly means a lot.
Don't forget your challenge. Write your story, say it out loud. Before, trigger, after. Remember the shape and just fill it in honestly.
We can't wait to read your stories in the comments. We'll be reading every single one.
All right, I think we're ready to close things out now.
Let's do it.
This is Emma,
And this is Ethan.
signing off from Learn English Naturally. Bye.
Keep growing, keep practicing, and go start your story today.
One small step, that's all it takes to begin.
See you in the next episode. Take care, everyone.